What is up, YouTube? Dottz Gaming here, and this is the third video in my 2H Frost guide. So the first video covered my talents, glyphs, stat priority, and gearing. The second video covered macros. So if you haven't checked those videos out yet, I'd recommend you go take a look at them. So this video, again, rotation and just a general ability use. So if you haven't watched the first video, I'm focusing on Breath of Sindragosa here. So when you walk into arena, the first thing you're obviously going to want to do is outbreak onto your target to get your dots up. If your outbreak's on cooldown, you know, simple Plague Strike, Howling Blast slash Chains of Ice slash Icy Touch. You know, you want both of your diseases up on the target at all times because Plague Leech requires both of your diseases up at all times. So basically, Frost has one goal, well, two goals. Obliterate as much as possible. And then when it's time to burst, you get full runic power bar, Breath of Sindragosa, and then when you are at, I believe, below 75, yes, below 75 runic power, empower rune weapon, so you generate back up to full runic power, and then just obliterate, like it's literally that simple. And then when, you know, you don't want to be frost striking at all during this. No frost striking. It's a huge no-no because you want all of your runic power to go into nothing but your breath, because that is what's going to deal the stupid amounts of damage. So let's hit this target dummy a little bit. So again, put our diseases up, start obliterating out of runes, frost strike. Got really unlucky there and didn't get a single runic corruption proc, so we plague leeched. Okay, so we go through our rotation. Alright, so generally, let's say they trinketed already. So they're going to have to sit our second stun. So we pop Breath of Sindragosa, we go, empower rune weapon, all of the obliterates. Every single obliterate that I've ever seen in my entire life. And look how long this shit lasts. You can just keep it up. So boom. That is your general burst. Look at that. Look at that DPS. Now, I'm sure you noticed when you were watching me go through my rotation, 2H Frost has more downtime than DW. Because, you know, you're spending more runes on Obliterate. So, once you Frost Strike, if you don't get a Runic Corruption at all, then, you know, you're kind of just chilling there waiting for your runes to come back. It's not like DW where, you know, you're spending generally one rune on everything. You know, you're spending 2 runes here on all of your obliterates. So, you know, there's a little bit more downtime. So, like I said, what I like to do is just a general, when I go to burst, you want their trinket to be down. That's the big thing. Because if they trinket your burst and get out of it, whew, that shit's crippling. It's bad. Again, I don't like to run Necrotic Plague. It'd be a lot less worse if you were Necrotic Plague, but again, I don't like to run Necrotic Plague because if I wanted to run Necrotic Plague, I'd play DW. You play 2H. I like to think that you play 2H Frost for the big in your face, like splooge on your face burst. What else? So, you know, as I've said, Soul Reaper is definitely good to be used when they're, especially as 2H, probably even more so than DW. When you're bursting, man, Soul Reaper, when they're at like 50%, because you're just hammering away on them. So if they drop to 35%, that Soul Reaper is gonna hit, and they're just gonna get chunked. You saw how I used Plague Leech earlier. That's how I recommend pretty much using it, is basically on cooldown. I would really recommend using Plague Leech on cooldown as 2H Frost, because it's not like where you have to worry about your Necrotic Plague stacks, because, you know, your diseases deal their constant damage all the time. So you want to Plague Leech to keep obliterating. Like, your goal is to just obliterate and obliterate as much as possible. You know, I've talked about Dark Sim in the DW guide, but if you didn't watch that one because you don't give a crap about it, Dark Sim can be your most a powerful ability, but it requires a little bit of thinking. So if you go to burst on a Disc Priest, chances are he's going to Pain Sup. Throw your Dark Sim up. You'll grab Pain Sup. That'd be pretty awesome. You know, with Warlocks, they generally like to Dark Soul as, you know, pretty soon after the start. So maybe toss your Dark Sim up on him first thing. Wait for him to throw out a couple casts, because some Warlocks like to get all of their dots out first before they pop their Dark Soul. Because then all their durations stack. So you could also steal that. You know, if you stun a mage, chances are he's gonna blink. So, you know, put your Dark Sim up. You know, Dark Sim is a very strong ability in the right hands. Icy Touch, you want to use probably you can use it a lot less as 2H, because the thing with 2H is so reliant on getting Obliterate like used that you have a lot less runes at your disposal for things like, you know, utility. So Dispel's here. So what I would recommend doing is, if you like really need to dispel your target, maybe sometimes instead of using a Howling Blast to apply your Frost Fever, toss out an Icy Touch, because it'll dispel, but it'll still get your disease up. Okay. Frost, 2H Frost, unlike DW Frost, can sit in Blood Presence and be perfectly okay. You know, your damage will naturally go down a little bit because, you know, you don't have the extra Runic Power and Generation, as well as the lower Frost Strike cost. But because 2H uses its runes to deal its damage and not Runic Power, the lower Runic Power generation will not gimp you as hard. So you'll still be able to deal a good chunk of damage. You know, I've done my full burst while in Blood Presence, and it's pretty comparable to Frost Presence. Obviously, it's not as good, but it gets the job done. You're not gimped nearly as hard. You can go more defensive as 2H. And, you know, suffer a lot less. So, I mean, I pretty much think that covers it. 2H Frost is honestly, like, pretty simple of a spec. You just want to obliterate and just build up that Runic Power for breath. Keep breath going as long as possible with things like a power rune weapon, and keep obliterating. Oh, grip. I talked about it in the DW video, but again, I gotta talk about it here too. You need to utilize your death grip properly. So do things like grip casts. Don't just use your death grip willy-nilly. You know, wait until blink, wait until displace your beast. Like, a lot of people just will throw out that death grip like, you know, it's a very unimportant. You know, you want to save it for key moments where, you know, death gripping a cast can make or break the game, you know? So, because another thing you can do is you can, like, death gripping in healers. This is something I really liked to do when I played 2H Frost a lot more. Was you'd be hammering away on somebody, right? And what you would do is focus. I have my usually have the healer set as my focus. I focus death grip the healer. Now, if he doesn't have his trinket, this is if in a perfect world, he doesn't have his trinket. You focus death grip the healer, asphyxiate the healer, and just freaking explode on him. And oh, it's so much damage so fast, especially if you have a partner hitting him too. Whew. And it's a lot of damage really, really quick. So, you know, use your death grip wisely. Don't just throw it out willy-nilly. And yeah, again, like I said, Outbreak first before you Plague Strike and you Howling Blast. Because, you know, Outbreak's free. That's pretty much it, guys. I hope this guide helped clarify some things. I personally think that, you know, 2H Frost could still be used if you really, really, really like it. It's definitely the worst out of DW, Unholy, and 2H Frost. But, you know, if you are a diehard 2H Frost fan, you could probably still use it with some success. You know, it'll be a little bit harder, but I think you could pull it off. So yeah, please like and subscribe. I really would appreciate the subscription. And check out some of my other videos. And as always, guys, I'm Dottz Gaming. Have a good day.